Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Be Real. It's a Friday night, so we're ready to get rowdy here. I am Nayan, your host for today's episode. I'm joined here by James, all the way in Brisbane. And on today's episode, it's a short one, but a big segment. So today we'll be covering a box office roundup, the live action Lilo and Stitch, the dramas with the MCU Blade, and like I said, the new segment is tier list, and this one is Pixar films. I'll elaborate on that in a bit. I have a mouse now. Life is so much more easier to navigate while doing a podcast. James has been telling me to get a mouse for so long, and I refused, and I've now gotten one because of this segment. So,
good luck.
Yep, my life is easier now. I can actually lean back and not lean forward. It's great. All right, let's get straight into it, I guess. Box office, absolute huge news, just obviously for Inside Out, but then also the projections for Deadpool and Wolverine, and we'll get to Deadpool and Wolverine first, but the main one here is Inside Out. Everyone's been saying the cinemas is dead, you know. Well, fuck you cunts that said that, because cinema is back. They are back. Inside Out. Yeah, no. So the budget for this film was $200 million. In its opening weekend, it grossed 155 million domestically and 295 million worldwide. And for that weekend, it was the highest animated opening ever and the biggest opening of 2024 so far, and releasing 60% of international markets. Now, to date, it's already made 430 million, and that's within 6 days. For Tuesday, which was a couple of days ago for us, was the fifth highest non-opening Tuesday with 29.1 million. James will get into the Wednesday numbers, I'm sure, because I didn't record that. Yeah. So James, this is a mammoth. $430 million with a budget $200 million, and it's already 6 days in. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this juggernaut already?
Oh man, like no one predicted this. There's no one that predicted the heights that this could have gone. Some people were on the upper echelon of the predictions around that 120 mark. We saw tracking come in a few days after we did the blockbuster bets, which I revealed, tracking and then my prediction. So Deadline came with their projections for their tracking, and it was like 80 to 90 million for the weekend, which I laughed at, and I was like, yeah, no, it's going to go higher than that. And I had predicted 105, so I was already on the high end of these projections anyway. But yeah, 155 million for the weekend. Yeah, no one saw that coming. This was a mammoth. I knew it was like going to be huge after we saw the Thursday preview numbers. It was just really high, and obviously we saw what came that weekend onwards. I don't really like the stat about that it's the highest grossing worldwide debut for an animated film, because there's so much like information that's not included in that statistic. Like, this didn't even release in all the countries yet. Like, there's still major markets to go. Like, for instance, I think it released in Italy yesterday, and it got the second biggest opening day ever there, second to Avengers Endgame for a Hollywood movie.
Fuck, that's insane.
I know, right? Yeah. So there's so much that's been left out of those kind of statistics. So I don't take too much weight into that at this point in time. But this movie is officially a box office juggernaut. It's one of those. There's always maybe one or two movies a year, if that just completely, go way above expectations. I mean, what have we had recently? Top Gun Maverick, Barbie.
Oppenheimer was the big one last year.
Oppenheimer was a big one. Even Mario went crazy big. I don't think people really expected it to be that, $1.35 billion. Yeah, that movie was huge. So where does Inside Out go from here? Well, it got on Wednesday. It was Juneteenth, public holiday for the US, so it got 30.1 million for that day. That's absolutely huge. It is the third biggest non-opening Wednesday ever in the United States. Yeah, that one is massive. You'll see a major drop-off for Thursday. It's no longer public holiday, people back at work, and people just saving for the weekend. I think you'll see it around that 18 to 20 million mark, and then that will lead onwards to a second weekend. I'm going to say 85 to 90 million. I could easily see it being 80 to 85, but just the way this movie continues to break and shatter expectations, I think we're going to keep getting that, and it's going to just go a little bit above what everyone else is going to predict. 85 to 90 million. It's going to beat Incredibles 2 second weekend, one of the biggest second weekends of all time. Pixar movies don't drop much at all. So, yeah, I think you're going to see it around, if my math is correct, because the first week for this is going to be around 255 million. So if you add that 85 onto it, I mean, that's 340 million right there. And I think overseas you're going to see it around that same kind of figure. I think you could be looking at 680 million to 700 million by Sunday. This movie will be 900 to 1.05 billion by the time Despicable Me comes out. People were talking, and people are still like, oh, so I guess it's a lot for $1 billion now, or they're just predicting it. I'm like, no, it's definitely getting $1 billion. It's definitely going to get $1 billion. Like, Despicable Me is not going to make it drop 95% week to week or anything like that. Despicable Me is not going to have a major effect on this. It will, stop its run a little bit, but the Inside Out's already breaking projections so much. But I think the more interesting conversation is not around this weekend or anything. It's where does it go from here, man? Like, how high can this movie go? Because right now it looks like it might be the biggest movie of the year. And none of us would have predicted that.
No.
Like,
I think it's got legs until Deadpool, and then once Deadpool comes out, I think that's when its numbers are gonna really, really slow down. That's what I think, because obviously Deadpool, we'll get into their numbers soon because those are also ridiculous, but I think a lot of people will be flooding to Deadpool. Otherwise they might do the two combo, the adults will go to Deadpool and the kids will go to Inside Out, sort of thing, or like the lads go to Deadpool and lasses and then vice versa, So in fact both movies could really benefit from this, but I think Deadpool will slow its halt quite a lot. I think it's got a good earning potential until then, and then after that will just be, the slow sort of roll-ons after that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, but just I think it can just continue to go on. I don't think Deadpool's going to be a major blockage in its path. It's going to be like Despicable Me. It will have a little bit sharper of a drop that week and then stabilize again. I think Deadpool will do the exact same thing to it. In terms of where this is going to go worldwide, I would say 1.3 billion is a safe bet at this point in time. If at the end of the second weekend it's already halfway there, like it's clear it's going to make that. With still markets to go. I think China, I don't know if China's this weekend or the weekend after, but Japan's in August. So there's still markets to release this. And I think the first Inside Out made like 40 to 50 million for Inside Out 1 in Japan. So you add that on to something like this, I think it can go pretty high. In terms of the ceiling for this, I'd say it's 1.45 billion is where you're looking for the ceiling for this. Could go over, but we'll have to see how it holds every single week. It needs to kind of be perfect to hit that mark. If it gets to 1.5 billion, it's neck and neck with Frozen 2 for the highest animated film of all time. Unless you want to include The Lion King, which is no, that does not count. No, fuck off, that does not count.
I mean, there's no live action in it at all, but it is all computer-generated imagery in The Lion King. So technically, but I don't want to have that accolade to it. So, 1.45 billion possibility. I'd say 1.3 billion is a safe bet now. 1.3 to 1.4 is probably where you're looking. Either way, Pixar's biggest movie, basically locked in now. If you'd gone back last year or the start of this year, or even a month ago and said Inside Out 2 will be bigger than all the Toy Stories, all the Incredibles, and Finding Nemo's, I would have been like, no. I would have just laughed in your face. Like, there's just no way you can convince me. And we are sitting in a reality where that is highly likely going to happen. I had read that Pixar said that Inside Out 2 was the last of the Inside Out series. They're done. They're not going to continue it. They're going to make more. They're going to make more. I had read a report like that, but that was before the opening weekend of it. So they're going to make more of it, so expect it to come. But I'm not complaining. Yeah.
Definitely. And another one that is going to be a juggernaut that will bring cinemas back, or further cement that cinemas are back and not actually dying, is Deadpool and Wolverine, which releases next month in July. So right now, it is tracking to be the biggest R-rated opening and biggest ever for that weekend. It's tracking to open between 200 to 239 million. Now, these numbers were from last week, because obviously we had a delay in this podcast, so I don't know if those numbers have gone up or down. But just based on those two stats alone, highest R-rated opening ever and biggest ever, that's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that was huge. When I saw that, I'm like, okay, wow, the potential for this movie, dude, sky high. Where I think it's going to hit, I don't know, because these numbers, I know the source that they're from, which I think Deadline was the one to report on it. The way they do their sources is that, or the way they do their tracking is they get this data and then they compare it to different kind of films that are similar to it. And then you can kind of measure where this movie is going to go. That's why the tracking indicates a range, because it compares it to very similar movies and how it will go ahead. But what I saw from those numbers is that they didn't compare it to any R-rated movie. And R-rated movies, they do act differently on opening weekends than non-R-rated movies, just because of the rating itself. I mean, like kids and all that stuff are less likely to go to it. So they're not completely accurate, but they are a heavy indication about how high the awareness, the interest is. I think, this is going to be a huge movie. I'm not going to say it's going to make 239 million. There's no way I'd go close to that higher figure off that the tracking numbers that you just said, because now if it does do that, it's the 5th highest grossing opening weekend of all time, which seems like quite far-fetched at this time. I need to see more data. Disney really needs to ramp up their marketing for it, because I'm just not seeing it around, and so I think they can do a lot more. Where I think it goes, though, it's basically what I've been saying for the last month or 2 months of how big this movie is going to go. And you're like, oh no, it's 160 million. Like, you're really lowballing it because of the R rating. And I'm like, nah, dude, I feel like this movie is going to go to around that 200 mark. I think I said to you last time on Blockbuster Bets, what did I say? 190, 195 million, around that figure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would bump that out to about 200 to 205. I still think my prediction of above Age of Ultron, before the first Avengers, I think that's a safe bet. But again, these numbers are going to change dramatically over the next month as we ramp up to release. That's kind of where the big pre-sales are going to start coming in, especially as Disney start ramping up the marketing for this movie. So
for sure. And its marketing is already going. It feels like as if it's already in full force already. Mm-hmm. And if they haven't even fully started, then goddamn.
I haven't felt today. I don't know. Maybe it's just I need to leave the house more, but hopefully in NZ they must be doing something over there. Yeah. Deadpool billboard up there.
There's people walking around in Deadpool costumes and Wolverine. They're having fights. It's real gnarly over here down here, eh?
Oh, that's where I need to be.
But no, I think Deadpool is going to be huge. Do you think, though, because we already know that the highest grossing R-rated film is Joker with, I think, 1 point something or just 1 billion. Do you think it could beat it?
Oh, man, I'm not ready to give it that yet, just because I don't know how the overseas market's going to deal with this. If it gets to 200 million, we'll say it opens up at 200 million in North America, I would say that it drops pretty heavy. I think the R rating doesn't allow it to hold so well. The R rating plus the MCU, they have big drops anyway. So I would say, 200 million opening, you're looking safe to make 500 to 600 million domestically, depending if it's good or not. We don't even know that yet. So it means it has to make 400 million more overseas, which I think is entirely possible. I think it has a very, very good shot to do it. The good news, and I guess that leads to why I will predict it as, it will be the highest grossing R-rated movie worldwide, beating Joker, is because it secured a China release. And supposedly, it didn't take many alterations or censoring anything out to get that release as well. Deadpool 1 couldn't make China release. Deadpool 2 did make it, but it had to change a bunch of stuff, and it only made 42 million in the market, something like that. So, everything helps right now, but I would say, 1.1 to 1.2 billion for Deadpool and Wolverine would be my estimate. But we'll have to see where this goes. But I'm hyped for that. Yeah.
I think we all are. All right. Now, something that no one is hyped for because it's a good animated film and Disney is hell bent on making live action films because they're idiots, is a live action Lilo and Stitch. This has been in the works for what feels like forever. apparently it is live action, and it's pulling a whole Moana 2, and it's releasing this year. And we've seen fuck all about it. Like, we haven't seen any backstage stuff. We haven't even heard anything about any directors or cast or even concept arts or Stitch himself. And it's releasing this year. Okay, cool. Apparently production wrapped earlier this year. It's going to come out on Disney Plus, so it's not going to be theatrical. That's probably why it's coming out this year. It is directed by Dean Fleischer Camp, who also directed Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And there is a lot of reasons why this film couldn't get off the ground. So originally it was supposed to come out in 2018. There's been multiple delays in this. So there was a delay in 2018. Obviously COVID hit in 2019, and that took it out for another couple years. There was another delay in 2022, and then you add in the SAG-AFTRA strikes as well. There's multiple casting issues as well. Originally, Kahu Mikado, I think that's how you say his name, was set to portray David, which is Nani's love interest in the animated film. But after his use of racial slurs was uncovered on social media, he was dropped and the role was recast. So, yeah, there's obviously behind-the-scenes stuff that is causing issues with this film. But its production has ended, and it's coming out this year, Disney Plus. Haven't seen anything. James, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, I love Lilo and Stitch as much as the next person.
Me too.
It's such a childhood throwback for me, so yeah, I will revisit that animated movie any day. I just love it. But I have no anticipation for this at all. I really couldn't be less on board or have any care for it at all. Sure, the director directed Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. That gives me some hope, and it gives me, I guess, a little bit of assurance that it might actually be good. But the reason why I'm not into it is because it's a straight-to-streaming movie, which, in my opinion, is the new, like, straight-to-DVD. Remember all those, like, movies that the studio didn't really have faith in? They didn't think it was going to be successful, so just straight-to-DVD.
Straight-to-DVD.
And they're all bad. So if the studio's not going to have faith in its own movie, then I'm not going to have faith in it, nor am I going to care for it. So it just reminds me of, that Wendy and Peter Pan movie that released on Disney Plus, or that Percy Jackson movie that released on Disney Plus. It's going to be one of those movies where it gets dropped and a week later, no one's talking about it, no one cares for it, and barely anyone's seen it. I think that's exactly what's going to happen with this, which is sad to say because it's an IP that I like. Same with the Peter Pan one. And I like the director. I hope the movie's actually good for his sake. It means that, he can start getting more stuff, particularly in the animation space, which I would like. I think what he showed with Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is something of great potential. So yeah, hopefully it does. But alongside the straight to streaming side of it, the production and Disney's track record with live action remakes, yeah, this isn't going to be good. I don't think. I have no faith in this unless the director Dean Fleischer Camp can pull off the impossible. But yeah, I think we've had this conversation before about Lilo and Stitch, but I think you're a big fan of it. So are you excited for it? Are you going to watch it?
I am a big fan of it. I really, really do like the film, the animated film. I've watched all the films. I watched every episode of the TV series. I played the game, and not just once, multiple times as well. I remember myself. I'm pretty sure it's in my car actually, in the boot of my car.
Why is it in your car?
The back of my car, you can describe it as Bermuda Triangle. Stuff gets chucked back there, and it's just lost
Nayan's
forever.
life. Any sentimental piece of his life is just in that boot.
Yeah, and it's like in the old school like CD-RAM stuff that you chuck in your little PC. Kids back then PC is what you do is you click a button and a little rack thing comes up, and you can put your CDs in. That's how old I am. Cool. Just expose that. But yeah, I love Lilo and Stitch. I went as far as being so obsessed that I could do the Stitch accent. Don't know if I can do it now. I'm not going to try, so sorry guys. But yeah, I am sort of bummed that this has a lot of issues, because when it was first announced, you had the whole controversy around the live action stuff at that time. You had the Jungle Book, which was a hit, and you also had Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Lion King as well. And I was actually sort of excited to see Lilo and Stitch in live action because it's probably one of my favorite Disney films. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites. But after hearing all of this and having it released on Disney Plus, like, if anything released on Disney Plus, you touched upon it before, it's doomed. It's not going to be good. I'll watch it. I'll definitely watch it because, I just want to see A, it's one of my favorites, and B, I want to see how shit they turned into this like awesome IP. You know, like what do they do?
I mean,
to make it so bad.
I'm kind of scared to see what Stitch looks like live action. I just don't know how you make him look cute and lovable like he is in the animated version. He's just going to be terrifying, I think. Like,
I don't know.
If they're committed to doing it live action, he cannot look cute.
Nah.
Because he was made to be like a destructive machine or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah, so he has to kind of look terrifying or look like a destructive machine. As well as the lovable cute side
cuteness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. See, the fact that we haven't seen anything about this, no behind the scenes, no concept footage, no actual, like, this is what Stitch looks like and this is what the costume looks like for Lilo, is just bizarre. And apparently production has wrapped earlier this year. And we're in June. There's 6 months for this film to drop.
Is Lilo, like, Hawaiian? Is the family Hawaiian?
Yeah.
What
it's
about...
set in Hawaii.
What if, this movie releases later this year, and then the live-action Moana, it's like a crossover? Because, like, aren't they both Hawaiian?
No, Moana's Pacific Islander.
Well, they can cross over, the seas, they're pretty close together, like those islands, so that would be a hype crossover. Maui versus Stitch, bro, I would pay to see that fight.
So you're talking about the live-action Moana that comes out next year?
Yeah. What if they do that?
I would laugh. That's
a big brain idea. I'm going for it, dude.
To be honest, I think that's bigger than Endgame, Because we see all these things for actual live-action stuff with humans, but we've never really seen anything for animation. Sure, you have your cool Phineas and Ferb and Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron crossovers, and those are goated, by the way, but we've never seen it in a movie format done well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Disney, if you're listening, send some of the royalties to James, because he just gave you a great idea. All right, and then James can buy me a house, and we're sorted.
There we go. That's how I pay him back.
All right, we're still keeping in within Disney, but we're going to MCU, and this seems like a movie that has been talked about for 20 years, and I don't even think it's going to get released anytime soon, and that is the MCU's version of Blade. So much drama with this film ever since it was announced. I know when it was announced, you messaged me straight away saying, "Are you hype?" And I replied saying, "I'm not a big Blade fan." And you were like, "What the fuck? You're a comic book guy, blah, 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 blah." I was like, yeah, but Blade wasn't one for me. But then I saw that, oh God, I hope I pronounced this right,
Mahershala Ali. You might be, I think it's like that.
Yeah, alright, whatever. He was cast as Blade, and that got me a little bit more excited, which is why I was a bit intrigued about it. Yep. And then we had reports come out, I think it was either last year or a couple of years ago, saying that the film is called Blade, and Blade is like not even the first, second, third character in it. He's the fourth character. He's not even the main character in his own film. That was red flag number 1. And now we have a whole bunch more information here, and there was more news. So I wrote this whole stuff for last week's potty, and then today there's still news coming out about this. So I've got all of last week's content and this week's content now as well. This is how incredibly disruptive this production is. So we'll get into the details now. So Jan Damange is no longer directing. He was the director before. Eric Pearson is now going to write the script, and he previously wrote Black Widow. Blade has now gone through 2 directors and 6 writers since the film was announced.
Man.
The news that came out today or last night or this week was the early script was set in the 1920s with Mia Goth's character wanting the blood of Blade's daughter. I don't know whether it's blood as in blood grudge or literal blood. That's stupid. 1920s, and the MCU is set now. Apparently Mia Goth is still attached to this film, so we'll see her in some sort of capacity. But that was the early script, and that sort of explains why Blade is, not the main character. Now, this new take is going to be set in the present day, and the MCU is planning on finishing the script first, and then they're going to send out to directors to see who will pick it up and get on board with this project, which is if you're a director, I wouldn't touch this film if I were you, unless you want to end your career. But yeah, this is the fresh new details on top of the previous dramas with this film. So James, are you now excited for this film? Would you go see it? Like, what do you think?
Oh man, this movie is just awful. I think we just start with the positive because there's so little to say when it comes to Blade. And Mahershala Ali, I think he is, inarguably the best choice to play Blade for the MCU. I think he's just perfect. Blade is a character that doesn't need to say much, nor does Mahershala Ali. He commands the screen in other ways. I think he just has that poise to him as an actor. So I'm fully on board with him in this movie. Blade in the MCU, I think, is really cool, which is why I was excited for it, alongside the casting, of course. Just Blade is something very different for the MCU. It better be R-rated, it needs to be R-rated, but it's just something where the MCU can feel totally different. It doesn't need to rely on its MCU humor or anything like that. But, now we got Eric Pearson who's going to write it. He did Black Widow, and Black Widow was a very safe, fine movie. There's nothing special about it. You don't feel the need to rewatch it, or it's just absolutely fine. It's not bad. It's okay. And I just think it's a very safe way to go about it. I think for a movie like Blade, you need a writer and a director that want to do something special with it, because you don't want a safe, generic, boring Blade movie. You want it to be something that make audiences go like, oh my gosh, this is the MCU? Like, this doesn't feel like it, So, yeah. But besides that, that's all I can say that's good about this movie. Everything I've heard about it since it was announced, feels like 15 years ago at this point. It's just been awful. At this point, cancel it. Just cancel it. There's so many case studies for this where we've seen movies have this kind of, track record in production, whether it's, problematic writers, directors, actors, and just all these issues coming up, and the movies always ends up being bad. So just based on this, I think it's wise to cancel it. And because MCU is in a little phase or a little bit of an era right now where their audience is kind of a make or break. And what I mean by that is that, people like me and you, the next few years, next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be looking at the MCU to see if we're going to continue to be invested in it, because it's been letting us down quite a lot lately. So if the next 2 to 3 years are just bad or not so great MCU movies, we're going to be far less invested in it, to the point where it's probably, it might not crack our anticipation list. We might not be talking about it as much because we don't want to. So I think these next few years are either to keep the MCU fan base, the loyal people that have been around since the Infinity Saga, or it's going to cast them off into new franchises and be very big in other fan bases and such. So yeah, it's a risky time for the MCU. I think what they need right now is good movies, and they need consistency. This movie doesn't align with it, but I know Disney and Marvel aren't going to listen to my advice. Why should they? I'm just me. I'm not an exec or anything with Marvel or Disney, so they're not going to cancel it, but I hope that they can destroy, burn, cast away, drown any script that was in development beforehand. I don't want any plot ideas. Every plot idea or early script development that we've heard about has just been awful takes on Blade. Just not knowing what to do. And if we get a mishmash of all of these things coming together, it's going to be, holy hell on earth. I don't want anything like that. Just start fresh. And MCU, they need to stop trying to do movies that are in the past. I didn't like it in Captain Marvel. I don't want it in Fantastic Four, Black Widow. You got to stop going back in the past. The MCU is something that builds towards the future. That's what they're big on. And going back to the 1920s isn't going to do it for me.
Exactly, and it's too little too late. I mean, obviously the one that made the most sense of going to the past is Captain America, obviously. Because we need to find out how...
Yeah, that's fair.
Because we need to find out how he got to the present day, but everything else is just why do you need the Eternals to span multiple decades?
It's just 10,000 years or some shit.
To explain why they weren't there for Endgame. No one cares. I mean, there's a hand and a whole Celestial that's still stuck in the atmosphere that is yet to be addressed, and I'm fully convinced it is never going to be addressed in the MCU because they realize that they caked it right there. And then you're right with Black Widow, it would have benefited if it came out before Endgame, before we found out that she died, but the fact that we knew her character's fate and then she gets a solo movie is just like, it's stupid.
It is stupid. They should have just made it whatever Florence Pugh's character is, just made it the origin story of her.
Yeah,
and going on like a revenge path or something like that, following his sister's death. Yeah.
But it's so stupid. And yeah, you're completely right. MCU needs to ditch this whole period piece film. That's what it is at the end of the day, right? You know, the fact that the Fantastic Four is set in the 60s or 70s. Why? We know that they are going to be big, and they are a big family for Marvel, and they're a big family for the MCU going forward. Like, and if you use the excuse of, they're just variants, why would you have a solo film based on variants, not the actual characters? It is. Oh, goodness gracious.
I don't know, man. It's yeah.
See, DC got a lot of flack, but at least they committed. Like, they knew they were making shit films, but they committed. But with MCU, like, you hear no one shitting on them, yet they're making horrendous fucking decisions and stuff like that, and questionable choices as well, and no one even bats an eye because they had like a decade of good films.
Yeah, man. Like, the next 3 years, right up to, say, 2027. By the end of 2027, these might be the most crucial years in MCU history. It's the biggest franchise in the world. What they did with the Infinity Saga is why I'm kind of kind to them now. If another franchise had given me this much, bad movies that I didn't care for in a row, I would be out of it. I guess emotionally. But what they did with the Infinity Saga was so great. But the next few years are absolutely crucial for keeping the majority of their fan base a fan. If we get, and I don't know how all the stuff leading up to Secret Wars is going to work. Blade, I have no faith for. I think it's still meant to come out next year. It's still slated for. That's obviously going.
How?
I don't know. Just push it to 2030. Just start fresh if you're going to do it. I mean, if we have to say goodbye to Marshall Ali as the potential Blade, then so be it. I want it to be a complete fresh thing in the next saga. Just get rid of it.
100%.
Play the safe game for this. Yeah.
Play the safe game, which I think Marvel are now taking good steps into, reducing their content. Having more focus on their scripts and stuff like that. But we can just wait and see, I guess, we'll have to wait and see. Sorry, I am trying to do something so James can see my screen, because our next segment is a Pixar list, but for some stupid reason it's not wanting to work. But that's fine, I will explain it while I try to figure it out. So this is obviously our Pixar list, tier list. Those of you that are familiar with this or this sort of concept, it is essentially an S tier list. A lot of Twitch users use this, and a lot of other sites use it as well. So usually I would rename the S to A's, but in this case I didn't have enough time and I was too lazy to. So that's my excuse. So pretty much I'll explain it here. Unfortunately, we can't figure out how to do it live yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 5 films. I will screenshot it so James will have the picture up for you guys to see. And then that's also a good opportunity for James to comment on the five films that are on this tier list. So in the tiers, you got S tier, that is obviously the very, very top. It's the God tier, so to speak. And then A is the next tier below, which is still very, very good. So think of it as like 9 to 10 for S tier. A is like 7 to 8. B is okay, 7 to 8, which is, so that's like 6 to 7, 5 to 6. C is, oh god, it's okay to watch, and then D is just why. It's just why does it exist? So I'm going in chronological order in terms of releasing. This is based on my opinion of what is the best Pixar films. Just looking at the films in front of me, I feel like there's going to be a lot of S tiers, but I have to be quite harsh and quite honest with my critiques.
Yes,
so that's how it's going to go. I hope I explained it well. If not, then Google an S tier rank and read it.
All right, so, I got it. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right, first one is the film that started it all, which is Toy Story. All right, let's be real. If it wasn't for Toy Story, we wouldn't have anything. There wouldn't be a Pixar. They revolutionized animation. I think that's an easy S tier for me.
Whoa.
Easy S tier, you know. Not only is it a great film, but it also pioneered animated films for the future. Bug's Life, easy S tier, like easily. No.
Don't do it. You're just waiting for my reaction.
I know. Nah, there's like a little ongoing joke where I just keep frothing about Bug's Life. Bug's Life
is hype. I've seen it like 50 times maybe throughout my childhood.
It's a good film. I very much enjoy it. I think it's because of nostalgia based, but coming off the back of Toy Story itself, I think we're looking at between B and D. I wish there was a half so it can be put in there, but I think it more deserves to be in that C sort of tier, you know. It's like, it's watchable, but it's not like, oh god, get this away. Like, why does this exist for? So that's my reasoning for that. Now we get into Toy Story 2 with the most satisfying scene ever created in live action or animated film, and that is when Woody is getting a touch up. Now, this film obviously followed up Toy Story. It's Pixar's first sequel. It is a very fantastic film. I think it's 100% or 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Can't quite remember. But it didn't quite reach, for me, it didn't quite reach the heights of Toy Story. Me personally, I do not think it is S tier rank. I think it is an A rank. It is a very, very good movie that is obviously pioneered Pixar as well, but it's not to the heights of Toy Story.
Yeah.
And now we get to Monsters, Inc. See, this is crazy. When I was like putting this list in chronological order, I was like, wow, really? Did these films come this early? I thought there was so much more.
I know.
Monsters, Inc. I personally love this film. It's probably one of my top 3 Pixar films of all time. So I have to reserve bias, otherwise it's just like an instant S tier for me. And this is, I feel this is where we really start to see Pixar's creativity, you know, a monster world that is in parallel with the human world, and there's a whole business based on children's screams. Like, I think the early, 10, 15 years of Pixar is just creativity to its max. For me, I think this is A tier. I mean, it shows a great friendship and relationship between Mike and Sully, who's the two main characters, and also serve a great and fantastic story as well, with a great score and everything else like that, and animation. What's that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Finding Nemo. This is another one. This is, I'd say, the first film where Pixar hits you in the feels, just based on the opening scene where Nemo's mum dies, and then obviously Marlin trying to find his son who's been kidnapped and stuff like that, and then them finally reunited, reunionized, whatever. So that is a very good film, an emotional moment. So for me, I personally think this is an S tier type film. I feel this film further showed Pixar's animation game, just mainly based because the entire film was underwater, and so James, what are your thoughts on this list so far?
I think you absolutely nailed it. I'm really impressed with your ability to be as objective as possible about this one, because I know how much you love Monsters, Inc., but I still stick to the opinion that it is not top tier Pixar. It's right below second tier, as you put it here, which I think is great. In terms of Toy Story 1, I wouldn't mind it being relegated to A level. I think when you consider the legacy of what Toy Story is and what it did for animation and Pixar, the studio, it deserves to be S, but based on the film's quality alone, I would probably put that in the A one. Finding Nemo is the one where they kind of broke through with some kind of genius, which is where you've put it at S tier. I think that's correct so far, but otherwise, I can't criticize it other than those little nitpicks that I just mentioned. So you're on a good pace so far, but we'll see where you go with this. We'll see where
Don't
you
worry.
go.
You know, it's all downhill from here, as they say.
We'll see.
Yeah, my main reason for Toy Story being an S tier is the fact that it is a good film, and also the fact that what it's done for not just Pixar itself, but the industry. So I took that into consideration when I chucked up an S.
Fair. I'll give you
All right,
give that to you.
another one where I have to absolutely be non-biased, and that's The Incredibles, which is probably my favorite film for Pixar. Superheroes. How can you hate it? This is another one. This is the first film where humans have taken the main stage, have been the main characters in a Pixar film. We obviously had Andy, but he wasn't really a main character, and we've saw them not really capitalize on the superhero genre or superhero market. This was just at the tail end. I think Spider-Man and X-Men were really, really relevant back then. It released in 2004. So I think it's either A or B. I don't know where I want to put it. My personal feelings want to put it in A, but I want to put it in B. Nah, it's A. I think it's A. I think it's an A.
Okay. All right.
And now we have Cars. You know, Pixar has done toys. Pixar have done bugs. They've done monsters, fish, humans, and now they're going to animated talking cars. Yeah, this is Pixar. This film spawned Pixar's first. Yep. Nope, I lied. I won't finish that sentence. But second trilogy. You know. Unfortunately, the quality of those films dropped, but we had
massively.
We have so many memes from Cars. You know, from Lightning McQueen's Ka-Chow to. I forgot the green guy. The green.
Chick Hicks, man. Piston Cup winner.
Piston, the lad. I think this film is a B. It's enjoyable to watch. You can watch it multiple times, and it's a semi-decent film. It's not like an A-tier film, but you can still watch it without being like, oh god, this is a drag to get through. So that's what I think. 1, 2, go. And now we have Ratatouille, James's film that he loves so much. When we went to Italy and Europe, that's all he talked about. And he was like, oh, what if Remy's making our food and pass right now? And we just had to tell him to shut the hell up because no way a rat is back there in the kitchen. Hey, to be fair, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Exactly.
But
it's peak creativity from Pixar. A rat that can cook.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's an A tier. It's a good movie, but the creativity in it and the thought of someone in Pixar thinking, let's base the movie on a rat that can cook. How do you even come up with this? It is so ingenious and innovative. So that's why I think it should deserve to go into the A tier. And now we have... See, this whole stretch of... I can't wait until after, Inside Out, because that's when we can start getting into the shit. But right now, I feel a lot of these are just going to be jammed into the S and A tiers. We have WALL-E. Yeah, that's the next one. A little robot that is pretty much, somewhat prehistoric for its model, and falls in love with a newer robot, and it also shows somewhat of the demise of the human race. I think this is another A-tier type film for me. How much have I added? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, last one. And now we have Up. This is another one of my favorites. I'm pretty sure it's in the top 5 somewhere, for sure. This is probably Pixar's most emotional film to date. You know, you had that whole opening montage with Carl and his wife, Ellie. Obviously that whole montage of them going through, just finding each other, going through love, and then marriage, and then death. And then we obviously see Carl throughout the film trying to fulfill his wife's last wish, which is go to some mountain or something. I haven't seen it in a long time. And then we also see, what's his name? The young guy? The Boy Scout. I can't think of his name. I know the dog.
I don't know. Yeah.
Donald, I don't know. Doug. Yeah, Doug's the man. See, for me, I'm going to put a little bit of bias into my decision, and I think it's A tier. I think it is
you mean S tier?
Yes, yeah. S tier. Put it in S tier. Multiple reasons. It's a very fantastic film. It is the character of Carl is developed very, very well in this film. You know, he goes from a grumpy old man to accepting a dog and a stranger child, even going as far to shot to this child's Boy Scout graduation pin thing. I don't know, I'm not American, we don't have this here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it's also obviously Pixar's most emotional film to date until we get to the next one, obviously. So that's my justification for S tier. James, any thoughts on this?
Oh, now you're starting to get controversial. I knew it would come. Like you said, downhill from here. All right, I would chuck Cars down to C grade because I don't see it above The Bug's Life, but I don't see it massively below it. So I think it fits right on that tier. You described Cars as one that you don't want to, immediately turn off. It's fun to watch and you can rewatch it. I find that it's the exact same with The Bug's Life. I think it fits right in there. It misses the mark to be in the B grade. I don't know how the sequels got worse because it was fairly flat for Pixar and doesn't have too much to say. The Incredibles, I would swap that with Up. Incredibles deserves to go in the S grade. The fact that you considered it for B grade blew my mind, but I kept quiet till now. I was like, no way, please don't do that. I mean, why I put it in the S grade above the A grade is because The Incredibles just has layers and layers of themes and subtext to it, and I think it's really impressive. It is the blueprint for what a Fantastic Four movie should be, and it's the height of any family or group of superheroes in any superhero movie ever, including stuff like Guardians and stuff. So it deserves to be in the S tier. Ratatouille and WALL-E, you got that absolutely perfectly. They're great, they're really good, but they do miss just something that gets them into that upper echelon of what Pixar is that very few of them have touched. So they fit perfectly there. Up, I love Up, and I think it hits all the emotional beats. The only reason why I don't have in the S tier right now is because the movie just didn't have too much to say. There wasn't a lot of subtlety or subtext behind, the themes of the movie, and it's just not one that stays around in my head long after watching it, but a great viewing experience and obviously emotional as well. So yeah, you're doing all right. There's a little bit of a rocky segment there, but keep going. We'll see where you can go with this.
All right. Bear in mind that, sorry, I should have mentioned this at the start, guys. There's 28 films, so this is why I said this is a big segment, which is why we had a somewhat of a shorter podcast today. All right. This one is a no-brainer. This is Toy Story 3, and for me, goes straight to S tier. This film capped off it had the perfect ending of a trilogy. It was nostalgic. It came, I can't remember, I think it was 10 or so years after Toy Story 2. We had so much character development within not only the toys of Woody and Buzz, but also Andy, wanting to give up his toys to Bonnie. We had the furnace scene where everyone cried, and as Leonard from Big Bang Theory said, if you don't cry in that scene, you're not human. That is why it's in S tier. Anyone that disagrees with me, I think you should just shut the hell up because you are.
Gosh.
Next one is an easy D tier. This is Cars 2. Easy. There you go. We finally got to the shit ones, and that is Cars 2. Following not so much the heights, but the success of Cars. And they go with Cars 2, where the main character is not even Lightning McQueen, it's Mater, who is, for some reason, a spy. This is just like Despicable Me, You have Gru that is very, very incompetent, but somehow pulls it off. You got Mater, who is very, very, very incompetent, but for some stupid reason he pulls it off. So that is in the D tier for me. Next, we have Brave. Now, Brave is a film I have seen at least 3 times, and I can't remember anything about it. All I remember is the main chick is Ginger. Other than that, nothing. So, for me personally, it's going to be in D. It has to be in D for me personally, just because I can't remember anything about this film. I can't even explain it to you guys, because nothing is coming to my head right now. I'm thinking super, super hard right now. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Now we have Monsters University. Now, I was excited when this one came up, obviously, because Monsters Inc. was one of my favorites of all time, so I was excited to see this. This is a prequel of how Mike and Sully got their friendship, and it turns out that they were never really friends, they were more enemies, and then they grew to become friends. Great concept, but I think the execution wasn't executed really well enough for me. I do not think it's D. I do not think it's a bad movie, but I do think it is a C in terms of it's passable. You can watch it, you can have some fun with it, but there's a big missed opportunity there to make it into the B tier or maybe even A tier. What is that? 1, 2, 3. 2 more. Now we have Inside Out. This is another emotional film, which is funny because it's based on emotions. So much happened on this, and we'll get into we've already touched upon Inside Out 2. But with this one, we really saw the core emotions of a child, fear, disgust, joy, anger, and sadness. And sadness was pretty much made out to be the villain in this film. And then obviously joy came to realize that Riley, the character, needed some sadness in her life, and as well as all the other emotions as well. I think the voice cast was perfect for this. We had another emotional moment with Bing Bong, the pink elephant. Another emotional one, another tearjerker right there.
Where does he put it?
S tier for me. I think I have to go S tier. Yeah, S tier for me. I think there's just so much going on in this film. It's a fantastic film, no doubt about it. And, it captures on your emotional side. It captures a different side of Pixar's creativity in terms of emotions controlling this one character. Not just this one character. We see the emotions in multiple characters as well. Many of the parents. One more. And we have The Good Dinosaur. For me, I think this is an easy D tier one as well. It was an interesting concept when I first saw the trailer for it, and a film about dinosaurs where they survive the meteor, but I think the execution was done absolutely poorly. The characters were pretty mid. I'm pretty sure the father died in this, and that was just non-emotional at all. The main dinosaur was annoying. I don't know if it's because of the voice actor and his scrawny little voice, or if it was poorly written. But yeah, I think it is D. I'm a big dinosaur fan. That's why Jurassic Park is one of my favorite films of all time. So anything with dinosaurs I can get on board with. But with this one, I was super excited and I was super disappointed when it came out.
Yeah.
All right, James, you said oof when I put Inside Out in S tier, so no doubt you disagree with that one. But what are your thoughts on this third round?
Ooh, I think you had a 6 here, actually. Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. All right. I'll break it down then. Toy Story 3, yeah, S tier. Probably Pixar's best movie. Absolutely deserves that top tier, without a doubt. Cars 2 and D, that's easy for me. I got into F1, obviously learned who Lewis Hamilton was, liked him, but Lewis Hamilton and F1 cannot save Cars 2 from being an absolute joke of a movie. Confession time, I haven't seen Brave, can't comment. I'm fine with it being in D. I would question if it was an S, but I can't really make any judgment there. And now looking at this, maybe Cars was right to be in B, and I would promote Bug's Life to be in B, because Monsters University is not in the same tier as A Bug's Life, but it's better than Cars 2. So I think it fits in there properly. And The Good Dinosaur, I would chuck in line with Monsters University. They're watchable.
So you'll chuck it in C?
Yes, I would chuck Good Dinosaur in C. And that, yeah, I think that's good. And I'll put Bug's Life in B. Just because The Good Dinosaur is easily better than Cars 2. I tried to watch Cars 2 again. I got through like half an hour. I can't watch it. It's awful. Monster University and Good Dinosaur is something I can put on. I'll be somewhat engaged, but not as entertained as Cars or Bug's Life. So I think that's a good tier for those kind of movies there. Inside Out being S tier. Oh, it's a tough one. I can't knock you for it because it's a great film. No doubt about it. The S and A tiers, they're all great movies. I would personally have it an A tier. It's missing the magic that creates a Pixar masterpiece. It's just a point below it. Just from being that upper echelon of what Pixar is in terms of, I just can't have Inside Out and Toy Story 3 being on that same kind of tier. So yeah, I would have it an A, and it seems like A is going to have a very long list of movies, at least in my opinion. So yeah, you're doing okay.
It is, and I just realised you are right. I probably should put this in A, considering my comments about Inside Out 2. So I think I actually might do this. James has persuaded me to put it into A.
Very nice.
So it's now an A. So you guys, the next screenshot, you will see it in S, and you'll see it drop down into A, because unfortunately this is not live, but we'll figure the kinks out one day. All right, next one is Finding Dory, another sort of legacy. You could say a legacy film. There's quite a bit of decades in between Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. This one's obviously Dory and finding her parents, where she came from and stuff like that. She went on a whole adventure. She went into like a SeaWorld type thing. Those of you that don't know what SeaWorld is, it's like an amusement park but with animals, so pretty much a water zoo with no rides. So yeah, for me, when I first watched it, I thought it was really, really good. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was probably an A tier, but rewatching it again, I still think it's really, really good, but I don't have that same passion as these other 5 films up here already. So I think it's on that Cars level for me. I think it's better than Monsters University in terms of a legacy sort of sequel type of thing, or prequel in Monsters University's case, but I just don't think it's quite up in A tier. Cars 3. It's another one that I barely remember. I definitely do know that it's better than Cars 2. So I don't want to put it in D. But I very, very briefly... Oh, this is the one where it was super, super dark. I remember the trailer. I remember we seen Lightning McQueen absolutely like bail and crash, and it was like, yo, Cars is going dark. And it just turns out that Lightning McQueen is just getting old. You know, it's one of those sports films, you know, a player playing past his prime, LeBron James, maybe. Who knows? I'm not a basketball guy. I just thought I'd take a dig at him, because why not? So for me, I think this is on C. There's some interesting things to be watching this film, and now seeing it along Bug's Life, I think you are completely right, and I probably should put it into B, which is probably what I'm exactly going to do right now, because this is my list, and I can do what I want, because it's not finalized yet. This is why James is here, to give his points to convince me, or talk some sense. But yeah, I just can't see Cars 3 in the same tier as A Bug's Life for me. But Cars 3 is obviously not D tier, in my opinion as well, because that D tier is Y, like I said before. And now we have Coco. Now this is Coco is a film that I personally am not a big fan of. I'll watch it. I'll watch it if it's on. I'll watch it if someone else is watching it. If someone invites me over to a movie night, I'll watch it. But I won't go out of my way to watch it. The only time I would watch it is if I'm going to rewatch all these Pixar films, which I probably will do one day. So I can't quite either reserve my judgment feeling for putting it into the lower tier films. I definitely know it's in A or B for me, because it does tell a really good story about life and death and that message across for me. So for me, I think it's in that B tier. I think it's a good film. It's not for me, but it's not, the top notch of Pixar. And I would say the same as well for our next film, which is Incredibles 2. I think it's in the B tier. I think it's not quite to the heights of Incredibles or those other films. It's pretty much very similar to all the other legacy films. It is good, but not great, and it's obviously better than Monsters University and Cars 2, 3 as well. And obviously, James had an experience in that screening as well, which I won't share. That is what, 1, 2, 3. There's still one more. We'll do 2 more.
Two
fuck
more.
it, we'll just swing it. 2 more. Now we have Toy Story 4. This is a film that, when it first released, we said it multiple times on this podcast. We were like, why? Why is this even here? How can you beat that ending? And then they come along and they beat that ending. I so want to put it in S tier, because mainly on the fact that they hit lightning twice. You know, like that is so rare that you see, not in just animated films or film, but just in films in general. Like, when do you see a perfect ending done twice? But then again, I also know that it's not as good of a film as, obviously, the ones in there now. I am going to put it in S tier, but S tier light.
Ooh.
It's S tier light. And the only reason why it's an S tier light is, like I said before, because of that ending. That ending was absolutely fantastic. No one thought they could capture lightning in the bottle twice. And also that animation. I mean, me and Kine, after we watched Inside Out, we talked Despicable Me 4, we talked about animation. And we also discussed Toy Story 4. That scene with the rain looked super, super realistic. It's as if they went out on a rainy day. And then also like the detailing on the dogs and the cat, and also Bo Peep's animation with the reflection on her porcelain as well. So I think there's multiple factors in this, which is obviously the ending and capturing lightning in a bottle again, and also the animation, and also the fact that it's a good film. That is my justification for S tier. And then we have Onward. Okay, we get into the COVID movies. Actually, I'll stop right there, because now we're entering the COVID area. So, James, this is Pixar pre-COVID.
Pixar pre-COVID. All right, let's see what you've added. Cars 3 in C tier. I think that's perfect. Having the first one in B, the third one in C, and the second one in D. That's perfect for them. You added Finding Dory. I think that's right. I wouldn't be mad if you put that in C tier as well. I think it's pretty weak overall, but having it in line with the first Cars movie seems appropriate for it. Coco, I would have it in A tier, but if you were to rank all the A tier movies, it would be on the lower end of those A tier movies. I just think Coco outmatches all those movies pretty easily. It's not one that personally hits for me, but if I look at it in terms of a film, I think it's really well done. Has one of the best plot twists for an animated movie ever, so I would have it in that A tier, even if it is one of the weak ones of those. Incredibles 2, I haven't really been kind to this movie, but I think B tier's all right, lower end of the B tier list, because I just think it's really weak, and I just watched the first one and watched the second one, and there's just a total difference of quality. And just having it not have a time jump in it, I think it didn't do favors for it. Toy Story 4, I would have it in A tier, but I wouldn't be against that, because Toy Story 3 obviously stands above all the Toy Stories, and Toy Story 1, 2, and 4 are all perfectly in line in terms of quality, with 1, 4, 2 being the quality order, in my opinion. But hey, if this was my way, dude, I would be much more stricter. I would probably only have Finding Nemo and Toy Story 3 being the only S tier ones right now. So, yeah, I can't knock you for those ones. It's shaping up to be well. It's shaping up to be well. I like it so far.
All right, and now we enter COVID era, and we enter Onward, which is a film with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt in it. Now, this is the film that came out just as world went into lockdown, right? Like, we managed to see it, and then pretty much the next day, boom, country's locked down. No one can go see it anymore. I've only seen it that once, and I remember jack all about it. All I can remember is that Tom Holland was annoying and Chris Pratt was even more annoying. So for me, I have to give it to D tier. I have to watch it again to see if it will change, but based on what I saw, I wasn't that impressed with it. What Tom Holland's character was like obsessed with D&D or something similar of that. Well, I don't know. I can't even remember. He has magic somehow. I don't know whether it was from his dad or mum, and then they go on an adventure. I don't know. That's all I know about this film. So yeah, and now we enter Soul, which is it's a wow movie. It is a movie that no one really thought an animated studio or a kids movie could really go. You know, exploring that realm of life and death, and actually showing that death as well on screen. Yeah. I know you took a lot away from this film, and when I first watched it, I thought it was fantastic as well, and I thought the score was perfect as well. So for me, I'm going to chuck it in the A tier. And then we get to Luca. I'm just going to run through all these movies. There's like 4 left, and then we can get your thoughts. All right. So just remember, from onwards. Hey. Then we have Luca. this is another one where when it was first announced, we were like, oh yes, this has potential to be Pixar's, another good Pixar great release, and it was somewhat underwhelming. I was quite underwhelmed with it. I thought it had a really good concept, but the way it was executed and stuff like that, it just wasn't so good, and I can barely remember it as well. I feel a lot about these recent COVID films is that I can't remember much about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it just didn't impact you enough.
They're so forgettable.
Exactly. So for me, Luca, I don't think it's D tier. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's forgettable. So I'm going to chuck it in C tier for me, because I do remember bits of it. I don't see anyone coming at me saying, oh, you just chucked Brave in there because you can't remember it. Yeah, but at least I can remember something from it, which is mermen and a friendship that is way, way too close.
Gosh.
And now we get to Turning Red. Now, I believe this is the first film that released when we were starting to open up. The world was starting to open up, and we were starting to get some more, freedom in our lives. Although there was restrictions in cinemas at this time, Turning Red was one of those. I remember nothing about this film except for the meme of the massive ass panda coming through the city. That is one that I remember, and then just and the other thing I remember is the friendship between the main character and her friend group. Again, I don't think it is B tier worthy. I don't think it's D tier worthy. I think it just fits perfectly fine in C. It's a serviceable film that you can watch and have fun with, but at the end of the day, as soon as the movie's finished, you forgot what the start was all about. Lightyear. This one is a very, very, very easy D tier, and I do not think James is going to even dispute that. This is the first Toy Story spin-off. I think this is Disney Pixar, not pure Pixar. I could be wrong. Can't remember. But yeah, the trailers. This is Chris Evans as Buzz Lightyear, and this is set. I can't remember. Is it set on the TV series of Buzz Lightyear, or is it set on the actual character of Buzz Lightyear? I can't remember. This is how shit the film is.
It's set on what Buzz Lightyear is, the character, not the toy.
And in this film, it's revealed that Buzz's future self is actually Zurg, and he lands on a... If you guys come at me with spoilers, I just get out. Get out. This is a shit film. Why are you coming at me with this? But it turns out that the planet that they land on, his future self is in it, and the only word that the creatures on that planet can pronounce Buzz's name is Zurg. Don't even know how that makes sense, but it is what it is. But whatever, we'll move on. Elemental. This is one that had a rocky box office, but then when it opened, and then it just legged it out into, into success. It was the success story of last year. Last year. Me personally, when we both watched it, I thought it was a really great film. I love elements, which is why Avatar: Last Airbender is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I love anything to do with elements, and I think Elemental just hit that. We saw a great dynamic and Romeo and Juliet sort of story between James's favorite character Wade Ripple and Ember.
Love Wade Ripple.
He does. I thought the whole concept was done really well, just mainly in terms of the fire and water. I think the other elements, such as, I think in this it was referenced as wind and earth, obviously, they took a bit of a sidestep, but I think the main story and the main focus is between the two key characters, and we saw it throughout the entire film. I really want this on 4K. Unfortunately, when this film dropped, they announced that they will no longer release Disney stuff in New Zealand or Aussie, so we had to go through Amazon and other parties to try and get it, which is a shame, because I would have really loved this. So for me, I think it's in B tier. Alright, and now we get into our last film, and that is Inside Out 2, one that we've both recently seen. We both thought it was absolutely fantastic. We thought it was just good, it was really, really good. It didn't try to outdo the original, it didn't try to go under, it didn't try to cram so much more into it. It's just very, very good, and is very, very relatable as a teenager and as an adult, I still... Can I get into spoilers or nah?
Nah, we'll keep it silent for now.
Keep it subtle. really good story between the emotions and Riley and how it plays out. Unfortunately, I can't give my full thoughts because it's only been released for 6 days and it's making $430 million. And if I were to spoil it for you, then it ain't going to reach that 1 billion or 1.3 or 1.5. So
Yeah, you're the influence for it.
I am. So for me, I'm going to chuck it an 8 here. I think it is, my personal opinion, I enjoyed it a lot more than Inside Out 1. I think it is better than Inside Out 1. I might have to rewatch both again to fully cement my decision. But for now, just because Inside Out 2 is so recent, I think it's better in there, which is why I dropped Inside Out from being S to A after what you said, and then also seeing that Inside Out 2 was also on the card. So yeah, that is our Pixar, my Pixar tier list. James, what is any thoughts, comments on the COVID era movies and just the list overall?
Okay, let's digest this one. So we started with Onward. See, I wish there was a tier in between C and D because I don't have Luca or Turning Red in line with Cars 3 and Monsters University. I think they're below that, but they're not to the, level of bad that Cars 2 is, or even The Good Dinosaur. Like, they are semi-watchable, but you're right, dude. I don't remember anything from them, really. They're completely forgettable movies, but the fact that I don't have them on the same level as Monsters University and Cars 3, which I can remember, I would chuck them in D level just for that fact alone. That's probably where I get a little bit controversial with this list. So yeah, Turning Red and Luca, they both go down there. I would have to rewatch them to reassess them in this list format here. Onward, I think that's fair as well. I at least remember stuff from that, and yeah, not a good movie. Lightyear. Yeah, Lightyear might be the worst movie Pixar's ever done. You know how much I hated the idea of Lightyear when it came out. I was fuming. Whenever it was brought up in conversations with us and Kyan, I would just be fuming. I hated it, and I'm glad that it sucked because it didn't deserve to be around. Anyway, so yeah, easy D tier for that one. What else did you have in here? Soul. I would have it an S tier.
I thought you would.
Yeah, I would have it an S tier. The only S tiers for me would be Finding Nemo, Toy Story 3, and Soul. I would have Soul first or second best Pixar movie of all time. I would probably go first movie. I would say it's the best movie just because, sure, kids can watch it, man, but this applies to, this applies to adults more than anyone else. This movie hit me so hard. What it says about life, the meaning of life, living with purpose, and just enjoying life for what it is. I think it's probably the most profound Pixar movie. Maybe not the best. I just think it has the most to say of all Pixar movie, and it hits it in well. The animation in it is flawless. Like, there's a shot of New York. It looks like a real shot of New York. So it's just crazy in what they do. But Toy Story 3 or Soul, they're top for me in terms of Pixar. Inside Out 2, I think you got it perfectly in A tier there, right alongside the first Inside Out. I still haven't quite made my mind in terms of which one I prefer. I think I got to watch them, but in my mind, because I saw Inside Out earlier this year, they're just so similar to me that I can't really differentiate between the two, and that's not a bad thing because they're both great movies. And then it comes to Elemental. Again, this is where another tier is needed, where it can fit in with Coco, because Elemental is clearly above Finding Dory, Cars, Bugs Life, and Incredibles. I would put it in A tier, but at the bottom side of A tier, I think Elemental, it's not about the elements. I think the concept is lame, it's unoriginal, and it is not creative. What is great about Elemental is, the love story and the migrant story told from, Fire's point of view. I think it's just, and it hits all the feels along the way as well. So I think it's great. It's just, not at that level. So, yeah, but it's one that I can't knock you for being in B tier either. If you could order it from left to right, then it would probably be a little bit better. But it's a good list here you got. Nothing egregious. nothing egregious, yeah.
It's all serviceable.
It is serviceable. There's nothing that's like 2 tiers wrong in terms of it's an A tier, it needs to go down to C tier. If any changes need to happen, it's either 1 tier up or up or below. So Yeah, I think you hit the marks here. I like this segment idea. I think I might have to borrow it sometime. Hopefully we can make it a live, watch it live.
Yeah. But we'll work on to that one day. But for now, this is the way it's going to roll. We'll do screenshots and chuck it up so you guys know what it's all about. If you guys like this segment, let us know for sure. And if you have any ideas of other film franchises or even directors, actors, their filmography, just don't pick someone like Robert De Niro or Michael Caine, because I'll just have way too many to filter through. Yeah, any suggestions, head over to X or Instagram, flick us a DM and let us know, or go down in that comment section right below. If you scroll just a bit, let us know, and we will definitely do this for sure. And while you're down there, you might as well hit that like and subscribe button, because you're already there, and why not? You'll do us a lot of favors and help, and we will appreciate you for that. Other than that, that's our podcast for today. We blew through the first 3 segments, and then, like I said, this last segment was a bit of a tanky one. So all of you that stuck to listen to this S-tier list, I'm very grateful and thankful that you stuck with us. Like I said, any comments about it, let us know. We'll respond. Other than that, we'll catch you on the next one. Most likely next week, where James is the host, and who knows what this boy's going to cook up.
I love my segments.
He does. That's us. We're Movie Gains. We will catch you later.
Peace.